but then you cannot go to college afterward. Okay. So what I mean is, when you are 13 or 14 years old, you need to decide what you're going to do with your life. And I think it is too early, because you still don't know who you are, what you want to study. But the system allows you later on to change the path. But we have high school that are focused only on theory. So when you go there, if you don't go to college, it is useless. But then we have a path where you learn a profession. And you study theory, but also you can learn how to do a specific kind of job. And when you're talking about fashion, for example, if you are 13 and you're really into fashion, you can go to a high school where you will study fashion and also work with somebody during the summer. So I think, in a way, it is one of the reasons why Italians you can find Italians everywhere in the world when there is design involved, because we start very early studying that, if we want to. Well, you're not forced to. And so the university system is also different, but it had to change. Because, for example, when I was your age, in Italy, there were no foreign people to be found. Okay? Only Italians. And that's one of the reasons why Italians normally don't speak several foreign languages, because they didn't need to. But now the situation is very different. Now there are many foreign people. For me, it's very funny to go to Rome and meet Chinese people who speak Italian with a very strong accent from Rome. And I love that, because they were born there. So now we have teenagers who were born in Italy. So they can be Asian, they can be from North Africa, and they speak perfect Italian with an accent, with a local accent. And so the school system had to change. And that was very useful for me, because when I studied, I was in Venice at university many, many years ago. And the system did not match the American system. But now it does. So in the past, we had this 5 years of high school, 4 years of university, unless you wanted to be a doctor, or an architect, or a vet doctor. So in that case, you had to study 1 extra year. Now it is different. Now you can study for 3 years, and it is the same as a bachelor degree, because you have 1 more year during high school. And also, I'm going to show you this thing. So, the average student must pass over 20 exams to obtain a degree. And as I told you, we have exceptions. So, medicine is an exception. Law, it is not. Law, it is not considered to be extremely difficult in Italy. Then, when you want to pass the bar exam, and then it becomes difficult. But the degree itself, it is not that difficult. Medicine, architecture, and veterinary medicine are the 3 that are really long, extensive. With the others, you need to take 20 exams. And it is very different than in most parts of the world. Because, as you can see, most of those exams are oral. So for me, it was shocking, and not so much Taiwan, because I spent years in the Americas. So that was shocking for me, to go through tests. Because in Italy, we don't believe in tests. Because you can be nervous during a test, and also it measures only what you learn by heart and what you memorized. In Italy, at university, they want to test how much you understood and how much you are adding. So your personal perspective is adding something to what you're studying. So I want you to imagine the situation. We don't have papers. You need to write for yourself. So you are in charge of your education. The professor is providing lectures if you want, Many students do not attend lectures, and they study on their own, and then they go privately to the teacher, to the professor, and ask questions. So there is a relationship between two adults, because you are at university, so you're not a kid. And you can ask questions, and then at the end, the exam is, you are sitting in front of your professor. Normally, classmates are there to test how the professor is asking questions. And the professor can ask you anything. You can never say, oh, but that was not in the program. No. The professor can ask you anything he or she wants. And it's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure, but you really need to defend your ideas and to show that you can back your ideas with the theory of others. And so for me, it is really difficult. I'm a graduate student here at this university, and teachers could see me as a challenging person because I always have a question. I always, sorry, I don't understand this. This is normal in my culture. Very normal. So now, in your case, I never know if it's because of the language, it is because you're shy, or simply because of your culture, but you don't give me much feedback. And now you're starting to give me feedback, and I'm happy. But at the beginning, you know, all the faces, the expressions, the same. For me, it is very frustrating, because I used to teach in Central America, and now they would interrupt me every 4 minutes. And this is considered correct, because I'm not a dictator when I'm giving a lecture, so I can be interrupted. In this culture, it is different. So I want you to know that, because if you go abroad to study, and yeah, Vivian, but I call her Vivian, but her Chinese name is different. She spent 6 months, a semester in France, and she told me that she was very surprised at the beginning because everybody would interrupt the professors. It is normal in our culture. And it is interesting, as I said, you can study at home, nobody has a problem with that, but you need to master everything, okay? So, also, you can pick the order of the courses you take. You have complete freedom, but you have more freedom, but also more responsibility. So it is a different, we are not very obedient, okay? And that was my problem here, because also I did something completely different than what is normally done, because I'm not very obedient, which is good and bad at the same time. So I'm sharing this because I think that we always need to find a balance. When you have culture exchanges, you can learn something from the other culture. So I have to learn to be more obedient, and you can learn to be more challenging. Because when you are challenging, the system works better. And this is very interesting, because essays, like midterms, we don't have midterms. We don't even have the name midterms. When I need to translate from English into Italian midterms, I don't have a word, because we don't have midterms. You need to know if the course lasts 4 months. After 2 months, you need to know if you're learning enough, if you have doubts, you are responsible. Nobody is testing you. You need to know if you're making progress or not. Okay. Language. So, ciao is a very famous word, but I wanted to tell you that ciao is used only when you say goodbye, when you're leaving. I'm testing you. No, ciao is used both ways. It means hi and it means goodbye. Okay? You can use it both ways. There are a few languages. I wrote them down because normally I forget them. So Korean, I know that there are 2 or 3 foreign students here. Thai, I believe have somebody from Thailand? Okay. Do you have a way to say hi and goodbye in the same way? Or you have different words? Different. In the majority of languages, it is like that. There is this idea of start the conversation, finish the conversation. In Italian, in Hawaii, with aloha, or in Arabic, in Korean, there are words that you can use both ways, at the beginning and at the end. And this is one of them. So it is very good, because you can say ciao at the beginning, you can say ciao at the end. There is a but you have to be careful, because what you have in Chinese with ni and nin, if I'm talking to a professor, so you are young, I can say ni, and I should say nin to the professor. In here, what I'm observing, it is not so strong. If I say need to use, now considered offensive. In Italy, it is offensive. I could never say the equivalent of me to a professor. It would be a lack of respect. So, ciao goes with ni, and salve, it is the same thing. It's hi and goodbye, but it goes with me. So when I don't know the person, when I need to respect the person, okay? So I'm telling you this because if you meet a professor here, for example, an Italian professor coming for a lecture, and you say ciao, it is very offensive. So don't say, oh, we have an Italian who taught us to say ciao. Okay? In that case, you can say salve. Can you repeat that after me? Salve? Salve. Perfect. And also, ciao should be easy for you. Can you repeat ciao? Ciao. Perfect. Huh? That's a very easy sound to repeat. Great. And talking about greetings, when we greet each other, so in this context, university, if you're dealing with professors, shaking hands is very common. And you know, this is very common in all Western countries, actually. Young people, so among friends, they wouldn't do it, but Italians do kiss each other a lot. And you know, I left Italy many years ago, so I go to Italy on vacation constantly, but on vacation. And now I'm more of a hugger. I spent many years in the Americas, so I do hug a lot. And for me, all this kissing bothers me, and I grew up there, and I used to kiss everybody. So, you know, what is common, it becomes less common if you don't use it. And now here in Taiwan, people tend not to touch each other. And I'm enjoying that. Oh, when it's flu season, you know, that you're not touching each other so much. But in Italy, so we don't touch so much each other, but we do kiss. So when there is the flu, not a good thing. Okay? But so don't be surprised if you see two guys kissing each other. It is very normal. Extremely normal. At least they don't kiss each other on the mouth like the Russians do. You know? Can you see that what is strange in one culture is completely normal in another one? I had friends from Italy coming here, and we met, and I was ready to hug them because I had not seen them for a long time, and they were kissing, so we got very confused. And that has to do with culture. Okay, so as I told you, the dimension. So as you can see, our island is more or less, it's a little bit smaller than Taiwan. And I think that now this is Q, questions is domande in Italian, and answers is risposte. So I really hope that you're going to ask me questions. If you have problems with the language, you can ask me in Chinese, and someone will translate for you, okay? But don't be shy, please. Ask me anything. I will force you to ask me something if you don't start, because I come from a different culture. We are very pushing. We push people. Bring the microphone to you if you're not asking. So, if you want to help your classmates, oh, okay.
What is your own favorite food in?
I don't know. I need to think about it because I love so many different things. Probably pizza, but real Italian pizza. Do you remember the place that I showed where pizza was born? So it's Naples. It's a city in the south of Italy. And as I said, last year I went there on vacation for the first time in my life. I always know that they have the best pizza ever, and it is true. So I would say that. So not the pizza everywhere, the pizza there. Very simple, but the ingredients are extremely good. So you're into food. You like food. Good, you're a foodie. Yeah.
Is it dangerous in Sicily because of the mafia?
Yeah, that's an important, very important question. You know, the word mafia is international now, right? Any language had to acquire the word mafia, and we are now very proud of that, that an Italian word became so famous. Actually, it is not Italian. If you remember the map, okay? So this is Sicily, and mafia comes from their dialect, which is completely different from Italian. And I think in Taiwan, you are familiar with Taiwanese versus Mandarin. So you know that a dialect can be, it is a language actually. So, mafioso meant handsome. So, a few centuries ago, a mafioso was somebody handsome, not only beautiful, it was somebody helping others. But then those people became controlling, and then the generation of that became what we know as mafia. But in Italy, mafia is here, but then on this side we have Camorra, which is the mafia of that region, and then we have Drangheta. It is not Italian, I have to, it is difficult for me to say. It's Drangheta, it starts with an N, it's NT. It's very difficult for Italian people to pronounce that word. So what I mean is, it's such a problem that we have 3 words, depending on the region. And unfortunately, those regions are still controlled by the mafia. So I come from the north, and my people from my area are a little bit racist against mafia. Because, for example, in my area, you call the police arrives in 2 minutes. In my area, nearly everybody pays taxes. In this area, nearly everybody doesn't pay taxes. So there is a fight, a constant fight. We have political parties that want to divide Italy. But it is only because mafia controls those areas. And we, as a country, allowed that. And now those regions are paying the consequences. So if you're asking if it is dangerous, yes, it is. It is very, very dangerous. And there are cities there that are worse than the Bronx used to be in New York. Bronx now is not that dangerous anymore. And so, yeah, it is. And then when you arrive at the airport in Italy, Rome or Milan, you will find signs in Chinese because there are so many Chinese now. I was surprised last year when I went to Italy. Everything was in Chinese. Because in the past it was not like that. And it says, danger, be careful. There is a picture of people stealing from you. But that happens only in a few cities. There are a few cities that are extremely dangerous. Where I grew up, it's like Taiwan. You can leave things and nobody's stealing them. So there is a huge difference. And so it was a very good question because that makes an enormous difference if you have the mafia controlling or you don't. So now I'm going to this area. Do you have questions?
Do you have any recommendations of restaurant in Taipei that you feel like, okay, this is like my hometown taste? And
No. This, what I'm doing, it has to do with me, not with the restaurants. Can you believe, after 7 months, I went to Taipei 4 times, every time to do something very specific, something bureaucratic or an activity. I have not really been to Taipei, so I don't know Taipei. And also, I never go to Italian restaurants abroad because I'm also a foodie. I do like food and I like to try local things. So, yeah, you should bring me something and I can taste it and say, no, or yes. But I will not go voluntary to an Italian restaurant. I don't think it makes sense when you are in a different country. So sorry, I'm not helpful. I can tell you that I see the Italian flags everywhere, and then I see fried chicken. Fried chicken does not exist in Italy. Of course, now you can get fried chicken in Italy because of all the American chains they have, but it is not an Italian kind of food. So when I see the Italian flag, and then I see pizza and fried chicken, I'm like, so that's a piece of information I can give you. That is a lie. Fried chicken, not Italian. More questions?
You mentioned that Vatican is its own city and it has its own passports. So if you go to Italy, can you just, like, if you want to go to Vatican, can you just go in without any? Oh, okay. That's all.
Yeah, it's a good question. They do have walls and doors, but they're always open. If they wanted, they could shut down the city, and then you would need something special. But otherwise, in both places, and it's good that you asked this question because it was very fast, the video, so I had to switch to the next topic. But both cities are completely open. So now in Europe, everything is open. Okay, even if you go from Italy to Austria, or from Italy to Germany, or from Italy to Slovenia, you don't need a passport. And that is the problem we have with immigration. Because if people from Africa reaches Italy, they don't want to stay in Italy because the economy in Germany is much better. They want to go to Germany. They just want to go through it. But then it is very easy to block them at the border. It is not so easy to block people coming from sea because you don't know where they're going to arrive. But when you need to go over a border with specific roads, it is very easy to block them. So normally they get blocked in the north, creating political problems and issues. But otherwise, we are not controlled anymore. So if you see police at the border, it's just looking for immigrants. So in my case, they see that I am European. Nobody's asking me for my passport. when I'm traveling, even going to the other countries. The two small states, even when I was little, and I did need a passport to go anywhere else, to those two small states, you didn't need a passport. Those are extremely rich states. So the fact is that you have a passport, it means that you can have your money in their banks, so higher interest. There are a lot of privileges that go with the passport. But just visiting, anybody can visit. Thank you, because it allowed me to explain better a point. Should I go that area? You need also to tell me, do I have time? Okay, good. So, a question over here. And your English is great. Wow. Okay, wonderful English. So don't be afraid. I said wonderful English, but if your English is not that great, he can help you. The professor can help you. I cannot.
Do you have any interesting traditional in Italy?
Traditions? I know what you mean, because in Taiwan you do have a lot of traditions. Maybe in connection with Christmas. Yeah, so the common traditions that everybody know, but not as strong. So things that people do here, I think this is a very traditional culture, and Italy is not. So for example, formally, most Italians are Catholic, officially. In reality, they're absolutely not into religion. I am a very religious person, I'm a Christian, but I'm not a Catholic. I changed my religion. But in most cases, they do celebrate Christmas, for example, just so to buy gifts. And so I would say that the commercial part of the old traditions is now in control of everything. So, no, we do not have anything special. You can have local traditions, and normally it is to attract tourists. So it is not so much because people are interested in that, it is because they do something special, and tourists go there. But you don't have a nationwide tradition, I wouldn't say so. But thank you for the question. I have to tell you guys, you have very good questions. Very good, yeah. Do you want me to ask you? I told you that I was going to do that.
You introduce the next.
You can ask the entire question. You can say the entire question in Chinese. It needs context.
You want to know about things?
Okay. So you are interested in the city of Venice? Good. I'm an expert. I used to study in Venice. My university. I used to study architecture in Venice. Venice is an incredible city. One professor of mine yesterday told me, she was in Venice last year. And she was very surprised because she used to study in England, and one classmate of hers was from Venice, and she went to visit her. And